cross-examination. I think we need
Good morning, Detective Porter.
Good morning.
I have marked as Exhibit 310 for identification a set of departmental reports, police reports, and I'd ask you to look through them just briefly and see if these are at least some, I hope they're all, but at least some of the reports that you authored in this case, where on Monday you indicated you'd like to take a look at them to possibly refresh your memory in answering my questions. You're certainly welcome to read each one, but I just want you to indicate that these are, generally speaking, your DRs, and we're not asking to admit them in evidence. I'm not asking that they be admitted in evidence. I'm having them there so that you might use them to refresh your memory. I don't want you to keep you from reading them if you feel you need to, sir.
A moment, please.
Sir?
Can I have a moment, please?
Of course.
I am the author of these. There are some marks on a few of them that
Refresh your memory because you didn't make them, right?
I did not make the marks.
Right, so it wouldn't help refresh your memory, right?
They have nothing to do with my report.
Right. So if you could put that clip, well, just leave them right there. Maybe you'll need them. Would it be fair to say that before you testified, when you started your testimony, before that, did you review your report?
I have reviewed some of my reports.
And since we left off at 4:30 on Monday, have you reviewed your reports in preparation for my examination of you this morning?
Yes.
When we left off on Monday, we were looking at, this is Exhibit 10. We were looking at either this exhibit or one very similar, and I think we'd agreed that this is before the storm, this is trailer 51 before the storm came, and there's an officer there standing guard over the scene. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Now, that's Exhibit 10. Let me show you Exhibit 9. And that's the same block wall as in Exhibit 10, but farther back. Pictures taken farther back up the street. Fair statement?
Yes.
There appears to be a lady in a blue shirt on the other side of the crime scene tape.
Yes.
And toward trailer 51, there's a gentleman standing there. Who's that?
That is myself.
All right. And the lady is Julia Gia?
I do not know.
And the two other gentlemen, it appears to be gentlemen in the white shirts behind the lady?
I do not know who they are from this picture.
That helps?
I'm sorry, it does not.
Okay. So you don't know three of the people in this photograph?
No.
Okay. But it looks to me like you're looking down the porch toward the front door of trailer 51. Is that true? In this photograph? Exhibit 9?
Yes.
Now, there was a storm that came, and then you approached the trailer and had a conversation with Officer Zillow, correct?
Yes.
And as you did this, you had a tape recorder with you.
Yes.
And you started kind of in the cement part. We put number 10 back up here. You started in this cement part here and then went around the corner.
Yes.
And you stood at the front door there for a minute, and you asked him some questions. He gave you some answers.
Yes.
And then at some time later, you went into the trailer with Officer Virgilio, and you went into the kitchen where you continued your questioning of Officer Virgilio.
Yes.
This occurred between about 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. on October 5th, 2010.
Yes.
And as you approached the front door, there was a taser laying out on the front, right?
Yes.
And this is Exhibit 28 with that placard 4 there. Is that the taser was laying outside the front door?
Yes.
And during your testimony, you told us about the probes on these tasers, 3 of which you found, correct?
Yes.
1 of which you found outside on the lip of the cement patio, correct?
Yes.
2 of which you found inside.
Yes.
You've told us about these wires, two of which we can see coming out of this taser, Virgilla's taser, right?
Yes.
You've told us about the blast doors that were found, and you were showing them and matched them up. You told us about the blast doors, right?
Yes.
And those blast doors come out, and are blown off the taser when the taser is fired, right?
Yes.
And each taser has a serial number, different than each taser, right, to identify.
Yes.
And when these blast doors come off and these two probes shoot out with their wires attached to them, there is a bunch of confetti that goes out, right?
Yes.
That confetti is known in an acronym as an aphid, A-F-I-D, right? Aphids, plural, right?
I don't recognize them as such.
Isn't that confetti called by taser aphids because it stands for anti-felony identification?
I'm not aware of that.
But you are aware that taser, when they make the taser, puts the probes in, the wires in, the blast doors on, and about 40 pieces of this confetti that comes out when you fire the gun, right?
No.
You're not aware of that?
I'm not aware of the number of the confetti or whatever it is we're referring to them as.
Okay. I need 296. Look for it. It's not in evidence. Probably here. Yes. Let me show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 296 for identification. And ask you if that taser manual is familiar to you. Let me first ask you, does it reflect the taser X26, the one that's depicted in this picture, Exhibit 28?
Yes.
And if you could look at page 8 and page 13 of that exhibit concerning aphids and confetti, if you could read those passages really quickly, see if that would refresh your memory and help you to answer my questions about these aphids.
Objection. Lack of foundation, 701, 703.
Yet no, overruled. Just to see if the only question is whether any of this refreshes your recollection.
I would have to read it.
What? I just asked you to read those. Page 8, concerning aphids. Page 13, concerning aphids. They're just a couple paragraphs. To yourself, not out loud.
Yes. The other day you had said that you're not familiar with taser. So you can refresh recollection, but if you never had the recollection, then it can't be refreshed. So I'm trying to get a sense.
I've never read this document.
Ah. All right. Then it wouldn't refresh your memory. Okay. Are you aware, you've told us you're aware of the confetti. Are you aware that the confetti has a serial number that identifies it and links it to the taser from which it's fired?
No.
You're not?
No, I'm not.
Okay. During this entire time that you were there, I'm sorry, let me withdraw that partial question. Are you aware that the confetti is colored, like pink, blues, whites?
No, I'm not.
During this entire time, did you have an occasion to seize any of this confetti from inside the trailer that may have come from one or both of these tasers?
No, I did not.
Let me show you what's Exhibit 163 in evidence. Aren't those little pieces of confetti on the carpet there next to that hearth, the confetti from the taser? Isn't that what we're talking about?
No.
That's not confetti.
I don't know what that is.
Okay. Let me show you 165 right next to this plastic. Those two little pink things, sir. Aren't those the aphids, the confetti that comes from a person's taser with serial numbers that identify who fired that taser and put those pieces of confetti down there next to placard 19?
I do not recognize what those items are.
Because you don't know what confetti is.
I do not recognize what those items are.
Because you don't know what confetti is, sir?
Objection, asked and answered.
Overruled.
I am not familiar with, you called it confetti, you called it something else, and I believe you referred to it as something else beyond that. I am not aware of what those items are.
Okay. Well, you and I, with Mr. Martinez, had an interview, correct?
Yes.
And that's been a week or two ago at least, right?
Yes.
And I asked you about them at that time, right?
Yes.
And you indicated, okay. And since that time, since I asked you about these aphids and confettis in your interview 2-3 weeks ago, you haven't done any research to find out what they were?
No.
Okay. Now, the storm that came caused a great deal of water. Let me start over. The storm that came brought water into the trailer, and I think you told us on direct examination there was water on the tile, and had washed some of the blood away. Right?
No.
Okay. Wasn't there a great deal of water, or at least water on the tile area inside the front door of trailer 51?
No.
Okay. Well, let's start here with Exhibit 37. You recognize that, Supervisor Officer?
Yes.
And you recognize those green and red things on this tile floor as being leaves and red pieces of flower from bougainvillea, I think Mr. Martinez called it, right?
Yes.
There wasn't any bougainvillea in this trailer, was it? Other than this part. In other words, this bougainvillea on the floor of this trailer didn't come from inside the trailer, it came from outside, didn't it?
Yes.
The storm blew it in.
Yes.
Because although you had an officer standing guard at the door and you saw the storm coming, you didn't either close the front door or put a big piece of plastic over it, did you?
No.
You could have. You certainly had enough time to do that, right?
Yes.
So you let the storm come, blow its water, rain, these leaves in on this crime scene, correct?
Yes.
And you're contending there's not water on this floor.
Objection misstates his previous statement. Lots of water.
I'll withdraw it. Please state. Isn't there water all over portions of this tile, sir?
There is water on that floor.
Okay. There's bougainvillea underneath the bicycle, right?
Yes.
There's water underneath the bicycle, right?
See exhibit number.
I'm sorry, exhibit number 39, excuse me.
There was water on the tile.
Just a minute.
Part was about
The water, the tile. That's not any clear, Pat. Take a look behind you, sir, on the television monitor rather than this. May I, Judge, approach that television
You
monitor?
do. You may. Just don't block the jurors.
This is pooled water and pooled blood, isn't it, Detective?
It could be.
Thank you. And this, Exhibit 37, this area is where Officer Virgil told us he was standing the other day, right?
Yes.
This, right here, right in front of the metal towards the outside of the door, is a lip, right?
Yes.
And so it goes down, how many, 4 or 6 inches?
To be accurate, I'd need to look at the report.
Sure. Go right ahead.
The report that addresses that is not here.
Okay. You have a report on which you authored that has the dimension of that lip?
Yes.
In any event, showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 30 in evidence, this photograph shows the lip, right?
I'm sorry, what?
This photograph shows the lip.
Yes, it does.
Okay. And What would you say the lip is? Just as a trained police officer, how many inches? Just ballpark it for me, sir.
There's no way to measure it because of the photograph.
Okay, can't do it, you can't. That's fine. Okay. Now, when you approached this taser that we see here in Exhibit 30 with Officer Virgilio, as you walked up to it, you said, we're outside, there appears to be a taser, I believe a flashlight in a bag, maybe a spiral notepad that may or may not have anything to do with this case. This is the door that you two come over and try to make contact.
Objection, hearsay, improper impeachment.
He hadn't finished his question yet.
You said that to Officer Virgilio on October 5th at about 5 p.m.
Objection, hearsay, improper impeachment.
Overruled.
I would need to accurately look at the report.
Let me give you 286 marked for identification and ask you to tell me whether that refreshes your memory. If that's the report you're thinking of.
Yes, it is.
Mr. Gann, let me back up a minute. Has found a really good picture exhibit.
Objection, vouching, a really good picture.
That's sustained.
I'm showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 34 in evidence. Is that a close-up of the lip we've been talking about?
Yes, it is.
All right. Now, back to my question concerning what you had said to Mr. Officer Virgilio laying outside on the mat. Did I correctly say what you said to him? It's on page 3, sir.
On page
3?
There's nothing on page 3 that is referenced to taser.
I'm sorry. You're right. It's page 4.
Page 4?
Yes, sir. Halfway down. I apologize.
Yes, sir.
That is what you said, sir.
Well, I have read that section of the report.
Okay. And it refreshes your memory?
Yes.
And the way I phrased what you said to Officer Virgilio was correct?
I'm sorry, you'd have to redo that.
Certainly. We're outside. There appears to be a taser with a light on, I believe a flashlight in a bag, maybe a spiral notebook that may or may not have anything to do with it. This is the door that you two come over and try and make contact. That's what you said to Officer Virgilio, standing right in this area in Exhibit 30 outside this door by this taser, right?
We were outside the door, yes.
And you said that?
Yes.
Okay. And Officer Virgilio said yes.
Objection, hearsay.
Same.
Okay. He didn't say, that's not my taser, I don't know how it got out there. He didn't say anything like that, did he?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
And a few questions later on page 5, you said to Officer Virgilio, to your recollection, do you know whose taser is out here on the outside of the door?
That is on page 5.
That's what you said?
Yes.
Okay. And Officer Virgilio responded to
Objection,
that?
hearsay.
I didn't finish this question.
Officer Virgilio responded to that?
That's a yes or no answer.
Yes.
What did he say?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Okay. Could we approach for just a moment?
Sure.
I had to verify the date.
Okay. Earth 2011.
Yes.
And among other things, you discussed his personal cell phone call that he took on the afternoon at about 12:32 on October 5th, 2010.
Yes.
And during that time, he told you exactly in his mind on January 4th, 2011, when he took that telephone call, correct?
This report summarizes that, yes.
Right, and part of the summary is, it says...
Objection, hearsay, Rule 613.
Let him finish his question.
Part of the summary is he told you about taking that telephone call and when he took it and where and things like that.
Yes.
Okay. And he told you that he took it to...
His question.
Judge, if we may approach.
No?
He told you that he took it maybe 2 seconds before Chrisman knocked on the door.
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
And I ask that the jury be instructed that they are to disregard that comment.
There was no question, no answer, there's no evidence.
Do you remember during Officer Chrisman's testimony that he testified that he took the call about halfway between trailer 50 and trailer 51? I'm sorry. Do you remember during Officer Virgilio's testimony that he said he took this personal cell phone call about halfway between trailer 50 and trailer 51?
Objection, vouching.
Sustained.
Now, you took Officer Chrisman's uniform, correct?
No.
Well, all right. The Phoenix Police Department, as part of this investigation, took Officer Chrisman's uniform, correct?
Yes.
Was that, I mean, you're the case agent, was that done at your direction?
No.
But in any event, Officer Chrisman's uniform, gun, belt, taser, everything that he was wearing basically was taken from him on October 5th, or maybe the early morning hours of October 6th, 2010, correct?
Yes.
And his uniform had some blood on it, right? Or what appeared to be blood, sir.
I did not see his uniform to be able to determine that.
Okay. You did not take Officer Virgilio's uniform, nor did anybody under your direction or command in this case take Officer Virgilio's uniform, did they?
No.
All right, let me put these away. During your direct examination, you were asked several times whether things appeared to be disturbed. Do you remember being asked about that in the trailer?
Yes.
And I think at first you said there was one thing and then maybe two, but basically there were only a couple things that you found to be disturbed in the trailer. If I characterized your testimony correctly or not?
I'm sorry, could you rephrase the question?
Sure. How many things did you tell us on direct examination that you found to be disturbed in the trailer? And by that I actually mean the living room where this event took place.
The specific number I do not recall.
Less than 5?
I would need to see a copy of that.
So you don't remember what you said on Monday?
Specifically as to the number, no, I do not.
You remember what you told us was disturbed on Monday? Which things? 2 days ago.
Yes.
What did you tell us?
One item was the snow scene that was on its side, and one item was the lampshade that was tilted.
And the snow scene was part of the box, the whole box that seemed, I think you said, that was disturbed, the box and its contents?
No.
Oh, right. Okay. What did you mean to say? Or, well, I'm sorry, what did you say so that I understand it correctly? What did you say? About the globe, and the globe was in the box, by the box.
The globe was on the floor on its side. The box was on its edge.
Let me show you Exhibit 46. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
So, your testimony on direct was that the globe was disturbed, but the other contents in this, around the globe, they weren't disturbed. Right?
No.
Next question. Only the globe in Exhibit 46 is an item that you believed was disturbed in this trailer in this photograph.
Without seeing the exact wording?
Without seeing what, sir?
Without seeing my exact words, I would say the globe was on its side, was not sitting upright.
Okay. My question is, you were asked about things you perceived to be disturbed in this living room, and one of them was, you said, the globe.
Yes.
And you reached that conclusion because you looked at it and it's on its side.
Yes.
Do you believe anything else in Exhibit 46 was disturbed? Like the globe was?
Excuse me, in Exhibit
46, the one that's up on the screen, sir? But what's disturbed?
What is your question?
My question is, I'm trying to find out what you told us was disturbed on your direct examination on Monday. You said the globe. I said, wasn't the box tipped over and everything else? You said no. So now we've got the photo. Now I'm asking you about it.
And the globe is turned over. The globe is not sitting on its base.
Yes, sir. My question is, isn't everything else in this photograph, putting aside the bike, had the appearance of being disturbed in addition to the globe?
No.
So it is your testimony that when you came in and you saw this, you looked at this scene here in Exhibit 46, in this picture, and you said, the only thing that's disturbed here is the globe, right?
I don't know the condition or the position of that box prior.
Well, sir, you didn't know the condition of anything in that trailer prior to going in there, did you?
No, I did not.
You've never been in there, right? Of course not.
I'm sorry?
You've never been in there before, right?
No.
So you didn't know where anything was before you walked in.
No, I didn't.
So how do you know the globe wasn't like that?
I described the globe as being on its side.
No, you described it as being disturbed. How did you know that was disturbed? How did you know the other 2 or 3 things you told us were disturbed? How did you know? How did you know that? Not having been in there before.
I did not.
Well, then how could you tell us that there were only a couple, 3 things that were disturbed? As you did tell us on your direct examination on them.
There were other items that were not disturbed from their apparent original position.
Yeah, but Mr. Martinez wasn't asking you about what wasn't disturbed. He was asking you about what was disturbed. We got the globe. And you told us, well, let me just show you Exhibit 82. In the lower right-hand corner, does that appear to be a bottle of vodka on its side, tipped over like the globe?
That is a bottle on its side.
Okay, like the globe.
On its side, like the globe.
But you didn't say that was something that was disturbed on Monday, did you?
Objection, misstates his testimony.
Jurors could consider their memory and their notes of the prior testimony.
Would you consider that today to be an item that was disturbed? Or would you, since you weren't in the trailer before, be unable to tell us actually?
That item is lying on its side.
Can you tell us today whether or not that item had been disturbed as you used the word on Monday during the incident that happened in this trailer when Officer Chrisman was in there?
No.
Can you show you Exhibit 459 in evidence? Do you recognize that photo and the items in it?
Yes.
Appears to be the bike in the lower left-hand corner. Appears to be the Folgers coffee can there, right?
Yes.
And this is the doorway into the kitchen, correct?
The opening into the kitchen, yes.
Okay. What's this laying on the floor here? Isn't that a hanging sculpture in kind of a little tote bag?
I don't know what that is specifically.
Well, what did it look like when you were there in October? I mean, you had to walk right over that when you and Officer Virgilio went into the kitchen to discuss the incident, right?
Yes.
Okay. What did you walk over that night, sir?
It's some type of a carrying device.
Right. And inside of it, does it not appear to be a metal trivet or sculpture or something that would, right?
I can't determine if it's on it or in it.
Okay. And you don't remember?
No, I do not.
Does it look like it is disturbed in the way you used that word on Monday? concerning the incident that happened in that trailer on October 5th with Officer Chrisman in the room?
No.
Doesn't look like it was disturbed.
No.
So, do you know if it was there before Officer Chrisman knocked on the front door while Officer Virgilio was making his personal cell phone call or taking it?
No.
Oh, let me show you Exhibit 69 in evidence. Does that appear to be the northwest corner of the trailer? A picture of the northwest corner of the trailer?
No.
Okay. What does it appear to be?
Picture of the floor of the northeast corner of the trailer.
I said northwest?
Yes.
Thank you. Appears to be a picture of the northeast corner of the trailer, looking down toward the floor.
Yes.
And there's this couch over here.
Yes.
And there's looks like a white pot under a wooden table.
Yes.
What's this thing in the corner in this picture right here? It's a weapon, isn't it?
I need to look at the picture.
You mean actually have me bring it up, sir?
Yes, sir.
You hand you Exhibit 69 in evidence. Seems a little clear on the monitor behind me, but use your own, of course, judgment. Do whatever you'd like to do to answer that question if you can.
I don't recognize what that is from this picture or from the monitor.
Okay. How many hours were you there in that trailer?
About 12.
And you told us that you had casings you found, right?
Yes.
Shell casings.
Yes.
Did you find any other casings or ammunition in all of your search of that trailer?
I don't recall.
Would that not have been something that would have... I'll withdraw. All right. Let me show you what's been marked as defense exhibits, photographs, exhibits 306, 307, and, well, let me start over. Let me show you what's been marked as exhibits 305, 306, and 307. And ask you to take a look at them. These are not in evidence yet. I'd like to know if you can identify these as being seen photographs. Are they?
Yes.
Do they accurately depict the items and things in this trailer on the night in question? Or they were taken at night?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
306, 307.
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
Mr. Martinez.
I'd like to look at them. No objection.
305, 306, 307 are admitted. Any may be published.
Thank you. I've shown you Exhibit 307 is now evidence. Generally, what are we looking at, sir?
The southeast corner of the living room with the door not quite completely open, and into the kitchen area just a little bit.
And at the bottom here is that little bag in what I call a metal trivet that we saw in the earlier picture, right?
Yes.
Appears to be in the same place as the last picture.
Yes.
The door has been moved more toward the shut position in this photograph, correct?
Yes.
At the time of the incident, it was all the way pushed up against this wall, those bags there. Fair enough?
Yes.
Okay. And so, and outside the door we see Officer Virgil's taser, right, and his notebook.
Yes.
And then this group of clothing materials, whatever, what basically was all that stuff?
That was the bedding, I believe.
And it was there when you and Officer Virgil went into the kitchen to discuss this issue, right? You had to walk right by it as you walked over that, what I'm going to call trivet.
Yes.
So that impeded, or that blocked some of the pathway from the living room to the kitchen. Correct?
The door did, yes, as we walked in.
Also,
Those items were behind the open door,
it
yes.
didn't stick out beyond it when it was pushed up against them, sir.
We could look at the prior picture. Or prior pictures.
Okay. I don't have it right, and we'll do that. Maybe I misspoke.
Objection.
Sustain.
What I was trying to ask you is, when the door was all the way open and pushed up against these bags, this is the front door to the trailer of 51 through which Officer Chrisman entered, correct?
Yes.
When it was all the way open, did those bags protrude out from the edge of the door? That's what I meant to ask.
To be specific, pictures that have already been introduced, I believe would address that question.
More clearly.
Yes.
Okay. Certainly, the full open door blocked part of the entrance into the kitchen.
Yes.
Now, let me show you what's been admitted as 306. Let me ask you a few questions about this. That's a picture of the bicycle in this incident, right?
Yes.
And it's a picture taken by probably the person standing on the chair whose shoes we can see at the top of the picture.
Yes.
And it's looking down onto the tile area, right?
Yes.
In the V of the bicycle, what's laying there in the water and the blood?
On the tile?
Right.
I can't see from the picture.
Go closer. That's the globe that a while ago was over laying inside the box, right?
That is a globe.
It's the one that was over in the box, right? By the box. What's it doing there? Wasn't there before? Whatever it is.
It's lying on the floor.
How'd it get there?
I don't know.
Yeah, a minute, Your Honor.
Yes.
For identification. Can you tell me if that photograph is a fair depiction of the scene, part of the scene, on October 5th, 2010?
Yes.
I move for the admission of Exhibit 312.
No objection.
312 is admitted, may be published.
That appears to be a picture of what area of the trailer?
That's the southwest corner of the living room.
And way to the left where the green, you see the green tag. That is like a laundry basket, white laundry basket there, right? Next to the chair, the right-hand chair.
There's a laundry basket to the left of it.
And on the other side is the chair on which Mr. Rodriguez was. To the left. On the other side of that.
Across the room, closer to the door.
Yes, sir. In this laundry basket, you see this black thing sticking out of it, black, wide, there. You see that?
I see the item you're referring to.
That's a holster, and there, it's clear over there. It's a holster, a gun belt, right?
That is a belt. And yes, there is a holster on the attached to it.
Okay. Thank you. Your Honor, could we just approach real briefly?
Okay. Gentlemen, there's a legal issue that we'll do, and so we'll just move up your lunch break a little bit more. So we're going to take the lunch recess at this time. If you guys would come back at 1:15, we will take the lunch recess. Please remember the admonition, keep an open mind, don't discuss the case. See everybody at 1:15. Jurors are excused. Please be seated. Court and counsel had brief discussions. Mr. Burns is talking some questions. There was an objection on hearsay grounds and 613 grounds. The court said it would do a little homework over the lunch hour and rule after that. Asked Mr. Murrins to go to other topics. He did. He's now reached that area again. So asked if we could break at this point and have a resolution on this issue. I won't give you an answer now, but why don't we lay out the question now, Mr. Murrins? Why don't you tell me what you want to ask, and then I'll hear Mr. Martinez's objection, and I'll have a ruling for you when we get back.
Yes, Your Honor. Officer Virgilio said that he went in the trailer right behind Officer Chrisman, stayed there until the pepper spray, left briefly for a couple seconds, came back in and never went out again until after the incident happened. I would like to ask Officer Porter about the numerous times that Officer Virgilio told Detective Porter, that he stepped out of the trailer, was out of the trailer, was out on the porch.
That's a different topic than what we talked about first. You had, because I can rule on that issue right now. Is there an objection on 613 grounds on that?
Yes, sir.
I believe Officer Virgilio was asked questions on that issue, so the court would overrule any 613 objection to that.
I was also wanted to ask Officer Porter because Officer Virgilio said that during redirect that when I had asked him about being afraid, he said, "Didn't you say you were afraid?" I think I told Sergeant G or Julie G. And he said, "Yes, I was afraid." On redirect, he said, "But I was afraid of Officer Chrisman." And I wanted to ask Detective Porter about when he asked him if he saw any threat to himself at all. He said, "I did not perceive a threat to myself." I can't speak for Officer Chrisman.
Any objection to that, Mr. Martinez?
Again, it's a Rule 613 issue. These sections that are sought to be introduced were not presented for Officer Virgilio to either admit, deny, or attempt to explain away, which is what Rule 613 is designed to do.
Well, on that last one, though, Mr. Martinez, it was asked in cross, and didn't you ask Officer Virgilio, from your perspective, a clarification question? He provided a clarification answer.
No, I was not. He was not shown the actual report. The rule is very clear that it indicates that you have to show him the exact statement. It doesn't say that somebody can stand up and just start asking him questions about it. It says that he has to be shown the statement because, as we all know, there's a context to statements, whereas questions in the courtroom is totally different. The rule is clear that he has to be shown the statement, whether it's written, whether it's verbal or audio taped. And so that wasn't done in this case. And I understand what the court is saying, but that's not what the rule says.
Next. I'm going to do homework on that one.
Okay, I disagree with my colleague. He was specifically asked about did he say afraid, and he was shown the statement. And secondly, on redirect, he then explained that what he meant was, and we've got the transcript. So next, and in conjunction with that same thing, Officer Porter then said to him, and just to clarify your understanding one last time, at any point in this incident, from the initial contact at the door until you walk out and the trailer is left as it is, did you ever feel that your welfare or your life was in danger? Virgilio, not at all. So that's the same as the last one.
And that illustrates the danger of Rule 613, because he wasn't afraid of Mr. Rodriguez. He was afraid of the defendant, which is what came out. He has to be shown that statement so that he can then say, well, yeah, I wasn't afraid of Mr. Rodriguez. I was afraid of the defendant.
Mr. Marins, you have a fourth one. We haven't yet talked about the one we talked about first.
I'm sorry, sir?
We haven't talked about the one you raised first.
Oh, do you want me to talk? I have another one besides that one.
I don't care. Just tell me everything you want me to rule on, so I'm ready.
Good. I wanted to talk to Detective Porter concerning Officer Virgilio's statement that he was supposed to be the primary officer and that he was the first one to arrive at the scene, and therefore, since he was the first one to arrive and the senior officer, that he was the primary charge and officer should have been in charge. I wanted to ask Detective Porter, in his interview with Officer Virgilio, he said, when you arrived, was anybody else here? And Virgilio said, Officer Chrisman was basically in the middle of the community looking at his computer on a map, and I pulled up next to him. And then Officer Porter says later, the second time, what took place as you're outside the door? Virgilio said, Officer Chrisman was the primary officer. And then later he says in response to Detective Porter's questioning, who's in charge? The more senior officer is in charge of whoever gets there first, it just kind of flows, says Virgilio, and then questioned, so you were in charge at the beginning or not? Yes. And then finally, I wanted to ask him about, no, not finally. I'm sorry. We talked about him going in and out of the trailer. Okay.
Right, well,
and then finally is the telephone call.
Time out. I just want to take one unit at a time. Mr. Martinez, the issue of senior officer. Any objection to those questions?
Yes, and again, it's the same issue. The statement to Detective Porter on January of 2011 was never shown to this witness. He was never asked any questions about it. Rule 613 indicates clearly that you have to show the statement to the person. You can't ambush them as he's trying to do now. If he really wanted to know what the answer to that was, he would have asked him before. He didn't do it. And Rule 613 says that if you want to come back later and talk about it, you have to show it to him. He never did. Rule 613 prohibits it.
Mr. Marins.
The ambush took place in redirect, Your Honor, knowing that, of course, I do not get recrossed. I'd have been happy to have recrossed. And that's why I want to do all these things now, because I wasn't entitled to recross. Virgilio's personal phone call is, I believe, the last area. Detective Porter talked to him about it, and it was tape recorded. We have a clip that says, from Virgilio saying, I recall receiving a telephone call from an automotive repair shop a second, maybe 2 seconds before Chrisman knocked on the door. And that's all.
Well, what testimony do you believe that impeaches?
Oh, I'm sorry. Officer Chrisman testified, quote, Officer Virgilio testified, thank you. About halfway on our walk from trailer 50 to 51, I received a call. Chrisman was with me. When I ended the call, we had rounded the corner near the front door of the trailer.
Mr. Martinez.
The issue is not whether or not it impeaches anything that Officer Virgilio said, and the state disputes that it impeaches anything he said. In fact, indicated that he did take the call as they were going there. The rule, again, indicates, and I've said it every time, he indicates with regard to this that he even has the clip. The thing to have done would be to have played the clip for Officer Virgilio and say, isn't this true, yes or no? Rule 613 is there for a reason. We cannot abrogate it just because defense counsel has some Monday morning quarterbacking and says, well, this is something that I now want to ambush or go around the rules on. I do not believe that Rule 613 contemplates that the force of evidence should be introduced in this fashion.
Not to create issues, Mr. Marins, but I thought one of your arguments earlier was something that was said that had not been said before, and so there was not a statement that you could proffer to Officer Virgilio. Is that on the timing of the phone call?
I guess the only answer I've got, Your Honor, and maybe I'm not quite clear on your question, but I think I am, actually.
I'm just trying to figure out whether we covered all of the ones, when we first raised it, it dealt with something, and you had asserted when Mr. Martinez argued 613 that there was no prior statement to show Officer Regilla.
And I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank, so.
Okay, well then I'm going to deal with these 5. Yes, sir?
Will I give you a couple sites?
You give me everything you got.
No, I've forgotten some of what I got.
State versus King.
180 Arizona 268, 883 P second, 1024.
Read the P seconds. Just the Arizona's great.
Okay, and it deals way into it. And one of the things I'd like you to look at, in addition to the other thing, it talks about these kind of statements. The statement's inconsistency is not limited to cases in which dramatically opposite assertions have been made. Also call your attention to State versus SUCHAREW, which is 205 Arizona 16.
I could steal your copies. If they're not marked, you can show them to Ms. Martinez. That would make my life a little bit easier.
They have markings on it there.
So just show Mr. Martinez. If he objects, that's great. If not, that's great too.
Excuse me? I didn't.
Look at what what I've asked for. If you object to me seeing those copies and saving me from looking them up.
Because he's got writing on it.
Okay, that's fine. Anything else for now, Mr. Merritts?
I guess I'm talking about the telephone call, but I think I've told you that. I'm sorry. Yes. In response to questioning by Mr. Martinez, in, I believe, redirect, let me just make sure. No, during my cross. I asked him, now after you received this call, you recall receiving this telephone call from the automotive repair shop a second or two before Chrisman knocked on the door, right? Answer, no. Question. I asked, do you remember talking to Detective Porter in January 2011 about the cell phone usage? Answer, yes. Question. Let me ask it to you a little differently. When you received the call, you told the guy in the call, Mike, I'll have to call you back, and I can't do this right now, and I hung up the phone, put it in my pocket, and Chrisman knocked on the door right after that. Yes. That's the testimony concerning.
I'll look at King and Sukuro. Anything else? If you guys get it to me by by 12:50, if I can see you guys at 1:10, the jurors can see us. It's close to 1:15 as possible. Anything else for now, Mr. Merritts?
No,
Mr. Martinez?
No.
1:10.